Welcome back one more time to the Big Balk, where the first and second seeds of the tournament, Junebug and Lunchables, are currently facing off in loser semis. The reason I say currently is because the VOD for the first two games of this set has been lost to history. The set that's been uploaded to YouTube begins on Game 3, and that's where we are now. The two players have traded games so far in Roy vs Diddy Kong, the matchup that they've historically played and in which Junebug has always come out on top. But here in Game 3, Lunchables is looking great. The first stock is just brutal, with only 2 openings leading to Junebug's death, and then Lunchables takes another stock after that, going up quickly 4-2 against the best player in the world. Not long after, Junebug finally takes the stock, and then he succeeds in just staying in Lunchables' face. He makes use of Diddy Kong's great item game and fast grounded movement to never give Lunchables time to get away and start dash dancing and using his superior range. Eventually, after a lot of scrambling, Junebug takes that stock too, bringing it back to 2 stocks to 2. He then immediately gimps Lunchables, taking a stock at 32% to take his 3rd stock in a row. Lunchables eventually gets a confirm into back air to even up the game without taking any more damage, but the momentum that helped him take a 4-2 lead at the beginning of this game has already been lost. Junebug stays in the center of the stage for the rest of the game, keeping Lunchables off stage from corner to corner, and cleanly takes the last stock after 30 solid seconds of being in advantage state. Down 2-1, Lunchables starts thinking about his counterpick, and he ends up going to Pokemon Stadium, a stage that's even longer and gives him more room to work with than he had on Smashville. And to double down on that stage choice, he switches to Marth. Now Lunchables has played Marth at locals a few times, but at this point in his career he is primarily a Toon Link and Roy dual main. He's actually tried Marth before against Lunchables at Arlo 2, and it failed to take again. But this time, things are a little bit different. The 2 players scrap in neutral for the first stock, but an up throw leads to a clean Ken combo for Lunchables, allowing him to take the first stock. And although Junebug is still winning in neutral just as often as he was against the Roy, Lunchables catches him in the air once, and gets a juggle situation from 20% in the middle of PS2 to a clean 0 to death, ending in a reverse Ken combo to maintain his lead. Once again, Junebug brings it back, and even has Lunchables in an edge guard situation, but this time he's the one who makes a mistake. He air dodges off stage, and rather than choosing to up B past him and save them both, Lunchables opts to let himself die too, bringing the game to last stock. And then, the story repeats itself for the 3rd time. Junebug is still getting most of the openings on last stock, but Lunchables gets 1 grab, and that's all it takes. It leads into another 0 to death, ending with an edge guard on the right side of the stage. All of a sudden, Lunchables has brought this set to Game 5, the winner going on to face Fresh in Losers Finals. And his Marth looked great for a counterpick. But now he has to deal with Junebug's choice of stage for Game 5. And Junebug, not wanting to really deal with Marth on a long flat stage like Pokemon Stadium, counterpicks him to Dreamland. And so despite how well his Marth had done in Game 4, Lunchables moves back to the character select screen and switches to Toon Link, a character who thrives on big stages. Back in 2016, PM used a stage-first rule set, where players would lock into the stage they were going to play on, and then they would both have an opportunity to go back and change their characters. This allowed players like Lunchables to find some crazy counterpicks even when their opponent was attempting to counterpick them by switching to characters that did well depending on the stages that they were playing on. So this was a pretty common strategy for Lunchables. You would play Toon Link on the triplats and the big stages, and then if they took you to a tiny stage, you would play Roy, and if you really wanted extra room to work with on a long flat stage like Pokemon Stadium, you could even pull out the Marth. Just like in Game 4, Junebug starts off strong. He gets Lunchables to 100%, and then off of 1 reversal on the right side of the stage, Lunchables gets a crazy 0 to death, comboing him all the way across Dreamland using an edge cancel up B to keep himself moving, and using both of his projectiles, an arrow and boomerang, to keep Junebug stuck in the air until he can get close enough to finish the combo with a dash attack. But it's not quite enough. Junebug slowly takes the lead over their second stocks, and a rough suicide at 0 gives Junebug a 3-1 lead that Lunchables just can't pull it back from. With Lunchables out of the way, Junebug exerts dominance over 2 players remaining in bracket, winning his run back from winners against Fresh, and then 6-0ing Flip in another one of those slow but dominating sets similar to Blacklisted 2 Grand Finals that just remind you why he is the best player in the room. Now, this set is notable for 3 distinct reasons. First, it involves the presumptive best player in the world being taken to Game 5 by a player who he historically does extremely well against. Even after winning this tournament, Junebug comments on social media that, while he hasn't gotten worse, the field has caught up. He's absolutely still in contention for the title of #1 in the world, but he's having to work harder for every win, and the number of players who could conceivably beat him in bracket is higher than ever. Second, it's a great display of the counterpick heavy meta that PM had at this time. Lunchables exemplifies the mentality of stage first rule sets by switching between characters even after winning games because he wants to make sure he's playing the best matchup possible on each given stage. This is something that we see a lot in melee players as well, which is the reason why you won't see anyone counterpick Mutaking to Final Destination even if he's not playing Marth in the games before, because he'll just switch to Marth and now you're fighting Marth on FD. In PM, eventually we would begin the transition to a character-first rule set in around 2017, where for each game you would lock in your characters and then you would do stage selection based on the matchup that you've decided. Lunchables as an individual was a huge part of the shift towards character-first rule sets because he demonstrated firsthand how strong counterpicks could be and how difficult you could be to counterpick if you had a pool of characters who were good on different stages. And last but not least, it's the first time that Lunchables pulls out his Marth to find success at a big event. Over time, Lunchables would start to use Marth to counterpick more and more players in various matchups, but this is the first time that the Marth has been anything more than a fun secondary he chooses to play at locals, and it means that there's yet another character that people have to prepare for if they're going to challenge this DFW tight in bracket.